So welcome to my channel, and that's what we call the good life. Today I'm going to be talking about all the jobs I'm going to be doing in November, and hopefully that's going to give you some ideas of what you can be doing in your home garden on your allotment as well. So first of all, we're going to start up at the top of the plot, and I'm going to work my way around and I'm going to show you all the jobs I'm going to be doing. It's definitely getting a lot windier and wetter and colder, albeit today is one of those lovely mild days where you can get jobs done if you want to. They're few and far between this time of year, so you have to take them when you can, and it's well worth getting some of those jobs done this month, because it will get colder and it will get wetter, and none of us want to go out when it's like that. So to take advantage of the good days is definitely well worthwhile. So to get started, first of all, I've got my rhubarb up here, which has well and truly died off now. It almost disappears. So when people say, what do you do with your rhubarb later in the year? Well, you just leave it to naturally fall back and to naturally die back. I will mulch it at some point. I haven't mulched it yet, and I will do a little bit of weeding. As you can see, I've got the dreaded bindweed. We all get it. And I will be tidying that up a little bit. I will be pruning my apple trees at some point during the winter months as well, but I haven't got to that too. What you're going to notice as we're going around, I haven't done that much either. So we've had this real flux of jobs we've been doing with harvesting and generally, and you get to this point in the year where suddenly an awful lot of other jobs need to be done. And while you don't have to do them, you can leave them to a little bit later. Like I say, you will get a much advantage if you do it. So let's move swiftly down. So as we move down, I've got my summer fruiting raspberries. So I've got I will be pruning those very soon. I've got lots of lovely new growth on here, and that's where you get your fruit for next year on. So all the new growth I will leave. All the old growth, which you can see what is old growth, because it's all very twiggy, that has produced the fruit last year, and you can see where the little bits of fruit were. That is what I'm going to be cutting off, and you cut it right down to the ground as well. So if I've got too many new canes, I will thin them out, but initially I will just take out all the old ones and then see what I've got and go from there. So my blackberry bush, well, I don't think there's much pruning going on there because I think it's had it. I really actually don't know what's happened with that. We've literally no idea, but it's just decided to not do anything anymore. I've got more fruit here, so I've got gooseberries and I've got blackcurrants, and I can be pruning those as well over the coming months. In fact, this month, the first thing I need to do is to do a little bit of weeding in and around them. The bindweed seems to have gone absolutely bonkers around it, and then I'll be taking out any damaged wood, anything that's crossing over. You want to create a good airflow, so you don't want it all bunched up like it is at the moment. But yeah, any really dead stuff I'll be taking out. Anything that's crossing over, anything that looks diseased, I will be removing. So hopefully I'll get a good crop next year. And the same with the blackcurrants, a very similar thing you do with those as well, because obviously you just want them to, you want to get a good crop, obviously. As we move down, I've got my parsnips here, and I've got my carrots, so I can still be harvesting those. Again, people think there's nothing to harvest this time of year. I've got carrots here, I've got carrots over there, I've got beetroot, I've got chard, I've got leeks. I've still got some Cape gooseberries down there and some broccoli. There's still lots of things you can be harvesting in November. Everyone thinks that like it's over. I've still got cucumbers in my greenhouse, unbelievably, and maybe even the odd tomato still that I've got to still ripen. So there's still lots and lots of things going on. There will be a lot of digging that I need to be doing. So I've dug my potatoes up, and if you've not dug all your potatoes, unless you've got your Christmas potatoes in pots, which obviously you will leave, any that are in the ground, they really do need to be dug up and stored now, because the pests, the slugs and wireworm will start to deteriorate them, and if it gets really frosty, that could affect them too. So all my potatoes are dug up and they are stored in Hessian sacks. I've got my garlic coming on lovely now, which is obviously something you can be planting. That's only been in just over a month, and look how much it's grown. Same with my onions there as well, doing really well, really pleased with them. My squashes and my pumpkins and my courgettes, they are all harvested and they're at home in my conservatory, so a nice dry frost-free environment. So if you've not harvested all your squashes or your pumpkins, you definitely want to be doing them, and the best place to store them, lots of people store them in the backs of their sheds or in boxes somewhere, and then they wonder when they open them up they've all gone mouldy and not very nice. I genuinely keep them in my conservatory because I can keep an eye on them and they still get some sunlight to help them ripen if they need that too. And I can also keep an eye on them if one of them's starting to turn, and that can be the next one for the pot. So that's a top tip there with storage of your squashes. I grew a ridiculous amount this year. Last year, I watched my last video, I only had about 35. I actually grew about double this year, so I've actually given a few away because I had way too many. This area obviously needs to be tidied up. And if it's any consolation, it feels very overwhelming for me to see all these many weeds where I've pulled all my pumpkins up, and it's been a little bit warmer and it's rained a lot and the weeds have just absolutely gone bonkers. But next on my list, next week on my to-do list, is definitely to start to get to weed my allotment. And I put weed membrane down after I've weeded because it just saves me such a lot of time. I know some people don't like using weed membrane, they prefer to mulch or they just like to leave it. Do you know what, it's completely up to you, but for me, putting weed membrane down after I've weeded at the end of the season or something that's not going to be planted on was an absolute game changer for me. It's really helped me keep on top of my allotment. I will put a link up on the screen and one in the description if you want to get the weed and membrane similar to what I've got. I have to tell you, it's from our Allotment Shop and I do make a little bit of money out of it, but it is something that's really improved my allotment and made it a lot easier to manage as well. I still haven't cut the tops off of my Jerusalem artichokes, which I'm meant to do, which again is on my list for the next couple of weeks. I need to cut them down about that much above the ground, and I can start digging them as well, which I haven't got around to do. I've had a busy few weeks. So again, if you've got an allotment and you think, oh, I've not had time to do this, I've not had time to do that, oh, do you know what? I've had one of those last few weeks as well. It just seems like lots of things have all come at once. It's a little bit like the harvest in the summer months where everything comes at once. All these other jobs seem to come at once at this time of year as well, but honestly, you will be fine. I've got a few more jobs that I'm going to be telling you about, but just before I do that, I know I've got a lot of people that regularly watch my videos and they subscribe and they comment all the time, but typically most people watch the video and they don't subscribe. So if you could do me a massive favour and click on that subscribe button and also put a comment and tell me a little bit about yourself, that would be absolutely awesome. Help me grow my channel. Now let's move on to some of the jobs I've got. Now my Cape gooseberries appear to have been quite a success. I did try to grow them, but really very miserably. And even though the weather has, you know, definitely a lot cooler now, I am absolutely stunned that these Cape gooseberries are absolutely so abundant. So I'm harvesting those at the moment. So now, I don't know if you've ever had them before, but they're absolutely delicious. So I'm quite excited about those. So I'm going to be harvesting those. I'm going to have to find some things to do with those. If anyone knows what to do with a lot of Cape gooseberries, I'd be very grateful if you could pop that in the comments. So that's something that's doing really well. So again, there's some things just grow really well this time of year. I'm sure this isn't going to last forever because it definitely won't overwinter, but at the moment it's absolutely thriving. So I'm going to be coming up here and harvesting quite a few of those. They are really lovely. If you've not had them before, they are a real treat. So the other thing you must be doing, and I see it an awful lot, is can I uncover my brassicas? No, you can't uncover all brassicas unless you're somewhere where the pigeons don't attack them. I have thought, oh, you know, it's, you know, there's not so much stuff around this time of year, I'll uncover them, give them a bit of air, blah blah blah. And the times I've done that, and then I've come back to the allotment and the pigeons would have absolutely wiped out my kale and my broccoli, I definitely keep them covered, you know, unless you think that they're not going to attack. If you've got someone where you've got lots of people walking around all the time, it's less likely to happen. But when you're up at the allotment, the pigeons can absolutely be ferocious. But definitely keep things netted. If you've got things that need to be staked, it's well worth it. So if you've got things like Brussels that are getting quite tall and quite leggy, and the last thing you want is for them to break over and for you to lose them. And indeed, sometimes your kale needs supporting as well. So do make sure that stuff's really well staked. As you can see, my flowers are doing really well, so I would just leave them to do what they're going to do. So that's, like I said again, you know, November, and it's absolutely still looking absolutely beautiful. I'm not complaining because I've still got some lovely flowers that I can cut for home as well. So let's move up to my French beans. So I am drying these for next year. And my runner beans, I will just clear those at some point. And I am still picking off the odd runner beans as well. So even though they look really shabby, I'm still picking them off. As you can see, these are drying off. So hopefully I can actually take these off soon. And I'm hopefully going to plant these next year because I love French beans. It's one of our favourite things. So while I can't plant these now because it's far too early to be sowing new French beans, there are lots and lots of other things you can be sowing this month as well. Garlic and onions are two of them, but there is a link up on the screen. There's also one in the description of all the things you can be planting and sowing now.